What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to be talking about fragrances that take me back to a certain time in my life. So there's going to be 6 fragrances, kind of weird fragrances, um, but they all have a pretty significant meaning, or they just bring me back to a day and time I just remember being in that situation. So we're going to go ahead and start off with the least one, or the least meaningful. Um, well, kind of. So this fragrance is going to be an Angel Ship Clone Fire Desire. So this fragrance, I got it in a fragrance swap. And this was the last fragrance I got in Florida. So this fragrance, so it was the last day that I had to get up. Well, I was leaving Florida. I had to get on the train. And this fragrance was just coming in. So this was, I believe it was September 13th or 14th, something like that. So on the 13th, well, on the 12th, it says it's out for delivery. Doesn't get delivered. The 13th is the day I have to leave. So then I make the 24-hour or ahead of time at UPS. I have to go pick up this fragrance. And I have to hope that it's ready for pickup by 9 a.m. as soon as they open. Because I have to be on the train an hour away at 11. So I went there, picked it up, and it was, it took a little bit for them to get it. They did not have it ready. They grabbed Angel, which was this one, Amir's Fire Desire, and it also came with You're Drugged, which is the Intoxicated by Killian. But yeah, got it. First day I wore it here in Buffalo. Was actually walking around. Me and my girlfriend and I decided to go to this farmer's market that they had on a Saturday. We went there and I got a compliment from a lady that was just standing while we were just waiting for a crosswalk. She happened to come by next to us and she said it smelled lovely. And then I had another song. I heard someone talking about the fragrance as well in the farmer's market. So that brings back pretty good memories. Or just, that was a fragrance that was pretty much the last one I got in Florida. Next one, it's going to be Valentino's Rockstar Noir. So this was the first fragrance I bought here in Buffalo, retail price. So I wasn't interested in this fragrance. Went to Macy's. I might have been one of the first times going to Macy's here. And yeah, my girlfriend and I went to Macy's. Tried it on. She wanted me to try this one. I tried it. I was just okay with the scent. And then my girlfriend got her nose on it and she loved it. So then I was just like, you can get it from me later on. She was like, all right, we'll think about it. So then we started walking out to get some frozen yogurt. And she was just like, no, go buy it. And that's how I ended up with this one, this is the first fragrance that I've seen her so impressed by. So somewhat meaningful. Next one's going to be another one with my girlfriend. This was a few years ago, though. So this was during the COVID times. We had COVID, and we may or may have not gone on a little COVID trip because that was popular during COVID in Florida. No one cared about COVID, so we took a weekend trip while we both had COVID, and this is how that bad boy, we picked it up for the first time. So she got this fragrance for me. We went to Bloomingdale's. She paid retail price for this, and I paid retail price the second time I purchased it. But for Creed Aventus, retail price, and a random weekend in Miami. That's how we got this one. It was the first time we both got COVID, so we weren't sure if we were gonna die or not. But at least I was gonna die smelling good, even if I couldn't smell it myself. I just knew I was gonna be smelling like this. Good way to go out. Next one is going to be the first time I purchased a clone. So this was a fragrance that I first smelled. I don't remember if it was my old boss at a dealership I was a manager at, or if it was at the airport. There's going to be Jean Lo Ombre, which is a clone of Ombre Nomad by Louis Vuitton. So one of those 2 times I smelled it for the first time, I thought it was a weird scent, especially because I was in Florida and it was in the heat. But I remember it lingering. I remember that I could smell him. I would be in an office. He would come in and leave, and like 5-10 minutes later, you could walk out of the office, come back in, and it still smelled like that fragrance. And he did not smell. He didn't spray it in the room. He sprayed it at home. So I asked him what it was. He told me it was Louis Vuitton's Ombre Nomad. Probably like a few months later, I find out about clones. I was actually looking for a clone. I was actually looking for just Ombre Nomad because I smelled it again at the airport. So the first time I smelled it was on my boss, and I was like, I wonder if they sell like knockoffs. So I looked it up. I found it on Amazon. Purchased it, not really thinking it was gonna be good at all. I just kind of wanted to see if I could even get close to the set profile without spending Louis Vuitton money. But I was ready to spend Louis Vuitton money. Then I got it in. It smelled pretty much identical. So that's how I ended up getting this one. This was actually, I believe, my first clone. And honestly, I don't think there's been a clone as good in my opinion. This pretty much threw me in a pretty big Maison Alhambra. I could only trust Maison Alhambra. So I ended up getting the Louis Vuitton collection from Maison Alhambra. I ended up getting all the Tom Fords from Maison Alhambra. Just because it was like, I couldn't believe how close it got. So I got onto these pretty quickly before they ended up being hard to get. Hard to find. Now, I got Ombre Nomad and L'Immensité in the same order. So that was a pretty lucky pickup. And L'Immensité was pretty much in stock. No one really cared about it. And I got L'Immensité and Ombre Nomad were pretty much two fragrances that really impressed me. That was my first clone. Next is going to be a fragrance that I've always had. It just always brings me back to my childhood, pretty much. Is going to be Dolce Gabbana, the one. Just because of the fragrance I've always carried. I've always had in my collection. The little time I didn't have it in my collection, I picked it right back up. So I had this fragrance since I was like in middle school. I just remember overspraying it. Never offending anybody, just because this one is one that you wish you could, smell like. I wish it projected more. I wish it lasted longer, but it's just not what it is. And I would try to make it last that long with overspraying it. But it just brings me back to being a kid, being young. I don't wear it too much anymore, but even when I do pull it out and wear it, it's still amazing. Even just smelling it, if you haven't tried this one, I definitely say try it. Definitely try picking it up. I mean, it's one of those things that it's a fragrance you should have in your collection. If not, at least try it in your collection. And it's not expensive either. So it's a must-have in the collection, I would say. And the last one is going to be Creed Viking. So this one takes me back to a time that was not so great. This was a time that I was going through a lot. Working at the dealership, it was not the best job to have. It was difficult bosses, not getting paid on time, pretty much just feeling stuck. And just, I guess that feeling of being stuck, and it just reminds me of that time in my life. And at least I was smelling good through that time in my life. That was Creed Viking. So that was the first time I used, I don't remember if it was a firm or afterpay on a fragrance, and I pretty much thought it was like the dumbest thing that I could probably do, just because I was paying maybe like $30 every 2 weeks, and I was just like, I could have just bought the whole thing instead of just having it taken out of the check. But not even that, it was like 40, maybe $50. But yeah, I mean, that was a pretty dumb buy at the time, just because I didn't need a fragrance that was this expensive during a time that I wasn't sure when my next paycheck was coming. Just because my bosses were those type of people that just didn't care about paying me. So I was pretty much working for free for a while, and I mean, it was one of those hard times in my life, and it is what it is. Everything's way better now. Happy where I'm at. If I didn't go through that in my life, then I probably wouldn't be where I'm at today. Made me learn a lot about myself and where my limits are and what I don't want to, who I don't want to work for, and what kind of people I don't want to work for in the future. And it kind of just pushed me, and I was pretty much running an entire dealership as a 19-year-old, maybe 20-year-old, 19, I would say. And it pretty much taught me of how much I have to put in, even though I wasn't getting the outcome or I wasn't getting what I was supposed to be getting. It definitely let me know how much time I have to put in if I want to be successful just for myself, and just push myself harder to be successful for myself. So if it was starting my own business, which I do have my photography stuff online, and I pretty much don't talk about it on this channel, but I do my photography. I do have it up for sale on my website. If you guys care about it, it's calumreels.com. But definitely taught me about that hard work. And then after I left that job, went into real estate, tried real estate, but didn't really care much about the real estate side. I cared more about the photography side of real estate. So I built up clients and stuff like that. But I left Florida, so while I was building up the clients and everything was starting to pick up, I ended up moving here to Buffalo, kind of restarting. Haven't really gotten the clientele here in Buffalo, but haven't really tried either. So hopefully I can get that rolling. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. These are the 6 fragrances that I think these are only 6 fragrances in my collection that actually remind me of a time in my life. Every time I smell them, it just brings me back to those moments. So that kind of, I'm not sure if that kind of affects the wearing. So some of these I kind of hesitate to wear just because it either has to be a special moment or I really want to just wear the fragrance. It's not one of those that I just grab, pick up, and spray. It's something that has to be a little bit meaningful to me, or I just know it's gonna bring me back. I never spray it and don't think about that time in my life. But yeah, please let me know if you guys have any of those fragrances for yourself, or maybe I'm just weird and I associate the smell with that certain time in my life, even though I think that's a normal thing. I'm not a scientist, so I'm not sure, but I feel like I've read something about that. But please leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one.